In this video, we'll be hunting a box of nickels. We'll be looking for anything older than 1960, including war nickels, buffaloes, or anything older. We'll also be looking for any foreigns, proofs, heirs or varieties, or any other cool things we can find. And we do have one ender in this box. It's right here, a 1941, at what looks like pretty good shape. And then this roll right here does look a little shorter. We might have lost a nickel, but either way, let's start the hunt, and I'll bring you in when we have our first find. Roll number 3 had our first couple finds, and both are from the 50s. The first is a slightly better date, 1958, out of Philly, in pretty decent shape. Then we have a 1959, out of Denver. Roll 8, and I opened the roll, and I saw this absolutely bent, beat-up edge, and I pulled it out, and I saw that. We have an absolutely destroyed buffalo nickel, and I don't think I see a date. Yeah, I don't see a date, and it doesn't look like there's a mint mark, so it's going to be a Philadelphia minted buffalo nickel. It's already destroyed, so might as well nicodate it and see what year it is. Just nickodated the buffalo, and it ended up being a 1916. It's a common date, but still, it's from the teens. It's 105 years old, and even though it's absolutely destroyed, that's still an amazing find. Same roll as that buffalo, and we have another nickel from the 50s, and it is a 1957 Denver. Roll 11, and we have a couple more nickels from the 50s. First, we have a 1952 out of San Francisco, then we have a 1954 Denver. Next roll, and we have our first nickel from the 40s, and it is a 1948 out of Philly in pretty good shape. Once again, next roll, and we have a couple more finds, and both are from the 50s. We have a 1953 out of Philly, and then we have another 1954 Denver. Roll 15, and we have yet another nickel from the 50s. This one's a date I don't get too often, a 1951 out of Denver, and it's in pretty good shape. Roll 16 was the roll that looked short, and we were just short of a nickel, so we lost 5 cents, but the roll did have a find. A 1941 out of Philly. Roll 17, and this box has had a ton of older Jeffersons so far, and that is going to continue because we have another one. It's another 1959 Denver. Roll number 20, and I was not expecting this. I pulled out this pretty damaged 1941 out of Philly, and the coin behind it was this, has a Denver mint mark. It was pretty worn. I was like, flip it over, it might be older. It's a 1938. First year Jefferson, 1938 Denver, and that's a key date. And it's pretty worn. Most key dates are in better shape. This one's pretty worn, but still, a 1938 key date. That's an awesome find. Same roll, had one more find. It is a 1957 out of Philly. Roll 22, and we have the first foreign of the box, and it looks like it's going to be a Canadian nickel. And it is, and it's is that a 1964? It is. I rarely find nickels before 1982 because those are all pure nickel, and I don't see them very often. And 1964, that's a young head nickel, and I think that might be the second one I've ever found in circulation, and that's an awesome find. Same roll as that young head Canadian nickel, and we have a few more finds, and first is a pretty nice 1947 out of San Francisco. And then we have a very nice 1954 out of Denver. So we got a couple of nice old Jeffersons in the same roll. And then we have another 1954 Denver, but this one is pretty damaged. That was a great roll. Next roll, and we have yet another 50s nickel. And this one is a pretty beat up 1958 Denver. Roll 32, another nickel from the 50s. This one is another 1958 from Denver. Roll 37, and the box is definitely cooling down since it's hot start, but we do have another 50s nickel. It's another 1959 out of Denver. Next roll, and I just said the box was cooling down, but I guess the box said no because I just got 3 more of the Jeffersons. First, we have a 1940, minted in San Francisco, and then a 1953, it's also out of San Francisco, and then we have a 1958 out of Denver. Roll 44, and we have another 40s nickel. This one's a 1942, but it's not silver, and it's out of Philly. Roll 46, Just flattened out the roll, and I think we might have a silver. Let's see. And we do. 1944, out of Denver. 35% silver, war nickel found. That's a great find. Next roll, and we have a couple more older nickels. First, we have a 1946, out of Denver. Then we have a 1954 from San Francisco. Last roll of the box gave us a couple last finds. First, we have a 1940 out of Philly, and then we have a 1956 that's also from Philly. Now let's go on to the wrap-up. Nickel box has been hunted, so let's go over the finds. We ended up with 10 estimates, one foreign, but it was a good one. A Younghead Canadian, 1964. I'm pretty sure it's my second ever Younghead nickel. And then we had one 2009. And then we had 8 from the 40s and 19 from the 50s with some nicer ones. And the nicest was definitely this 1954 Denver. And then the best finds, we had that buffalo at the beginning of the box. It's absolutely bent and destroyed, and we had to nicodate it. But still, it's a 1916. 105-year-old nickel is always an awesome find. And then we have the 1944 Denver minted 35% silver war nickel we found at the end of the box, which is also an awesome find. And then we had that 1938 D key date. Even though it's worn out, a key date's still always an awesome find. And overall, this was a great nickel box.